Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I want to call our June 11th, 2024 Bermuda Run Town Council meeting to order. Let me remind everyone to please silence your phones. Thank you. I want to recognize we do have a quorum. We have Council Member Nelson, who is not here tonight, but we still have a quorum. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is the intent of the Town Council to make solemn the proceedings of this meeting and the business brought before the governing board, to offer the opportunity for a reflective moment of silence. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics Statement. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 160A86 and 160D109 and the Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics policy adopted November 9th, 2010, and further endorsed on August 9th, 2022, I would ask each of you before you adopt the agenda if there's any actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the proposed agenda which will come before the Town Council for a vote at this meeting tonight. If so, please speak up and let the Council know at this time before the agenda is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Adoption of the agenda. The Council has had an opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any revisions? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you, Council. Approval of the May 14th Town Council meeting minutes. Council has had an opportunity to review. Are there any revisions?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Show of hands. Thank you, Council. Unanimous. Agenda item number 7, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight?
Yes, sir, we do. We have one person signed up to speak, Mr. Dan Borland.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williams, you want to explain the rules, please?
Yes, sir. While you're approaching the desk, go ahead to the podium.
More than 30 or 35 minutes.
Slightly, the tenth of that. So these are the public comment period rules. You're allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak and immediately stop when your time is up. Please state your name and address before addressing the board. Address the council as a whole, please. No verbal exchange back and forth between you and the council. Mr. Meadwell will be the timekeeper and will inform you at the 30-second mark right before your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dan Borland. I live at 346 Yadkin Valley Road. I could not be here at the May meeting. I was here at the April 9th meeting. And I want to thank the clerk for noting in the minutes of that meeting about the comments that individuals had made at that meeting. And of course, there were some important decisions made by the council at that meeting. When I reflect on the comments that were made, as in the minutes, a large majority of those comments spoke against those decisions and asked for more time on particular aspects to investigate. And I also note, and I don't exactly know this, but that some number of those individuals live in the, I'm sorry, I always get the initials right, it's either the ETJ or the EJT. And so in a sense, there's a little conundrum, and the conundrum is at the end of the meeting, we were encouraged to all participate in these meetings. And I would cite that meeting as April 11th as an incredible amount of participation. However, it was not clear to me that those concerns were considered by the council in the decisions that they made. And so I'm here to, be able to make public comment and to encourage the council that there are individuals as well who are seeking for the good of this region, this area. Some of them are not in Bermuda Run and yet subject to Bermuda Run. And so I'm asking that you take to heart the comments that are made. And I know we can't just say, oh, it was 13-2 or something like that. But I believe that indeed a large amount of concern was expressed by those people who came. I did not see any void of individuals who, weren't taking part at all. We had a great turnout for that meeting, and people spoke their hearts. And I do think the council should give consideration to those comments. And it's not clear to me that that happened for that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borland. All right, moving on to agenda item 8, our presentations. Tonight we have 2 presentations. The first is from Duke Energy. Mr. Crapster, Government and Community Relations Manager. A topic that comes to the town quite often, whether it's on social media or directly to the town, relates to electricity, whether it's outages or challenges or what have you. And Mr. Meadwell and I had the opportunity a few months ago to meet with Joe and his team, and he shared a lot of interesting information with Mr. Meadwell and I thought, what a great opportunity to bring Joe and his team here and have the opportunity to present to those in the audience and those who watch this video recording later. So I'll ask Joe to come forward. Also, I will remind the audience that our presentations are given to the town council. So we ask the presenters to speak to the council. Those of you in the audience, we will not take questions from the audience, but certainly encourage any of you who do have questions, reach out to our town manager, send an email message, and I will promise you that we'll get that message over to our presenters and a follow-up response to those questions. But from a protocol standpoint, we ask that the presenters speak to the town council. Council may have questions of the presenter. With that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Brannon, council, and Mr. Meadwell. And I must say, I think from a Duke Energy perspective, the opportunity to meet with you two earlier this year, I appreciate it. A little background on myself. When I graduated from Catawba College, working with Duke Power at the time, my first job was in Winston-Salem. So I came back, including Davie County with the Bermuda Run, back the second half of last year. So, it feels good to be working back in Davie County. What I wanted to do first is let Rob Swaim, he's our area manager engineer here for the Winston-Salem area, to talk some about the overview of the grid, some of the improvements we've made here around Bermuda Run, from a technology standpoint and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead, turn it over to Rob, and then the mayor had asked me we had some billing changes, at least how the bills are itemized out earlier this year, and I'll go over that after Rob. So thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Brannon, Town Council, staff, I appreciate the opportunity to come to you tonight and give you a little bit of information about Duke Energy, and we certainly appreciate the partnership that has been fostered here, and we hope that continues for some time. And so I'll echo many of Joe's comments earlier, and maybe not the background per se, but when I started with Duke, I actually cut my teeth in Davie County. That's kind of where I started my work at. And so it's dear to me as well. And so I appreciate this opportunity. And so tonight, I'd like to give you some information that we've talked about recently, and I hope we find that it's useful for the group and those that watch the video a little bit later. And so tonight I want to spend some time talking to you about the overview of the grid that serves this area. We'll do a little comments and overview of the outages that this area has experienced over some time, over a couple of years. We'll talk about some improvements and mitigation efforts that we have underway now. And I'll give you a little briefer on the self-healing technologies that we employ at Duke Energy. So this is a kind of a visual diagram of the electrical grid overview that we have in the area. a comment that we hear often is, I'm without power, but my neighbor has power. And this, I think this diagram can help explain that situation from time to time. If you'll notice here, and we'll kind of get our bearings, we have Highway 801 here towards the middle with I-40 crossing it. There's a marker for Town Hall on the map here as well. We have a circuit that comes from Forsyth County that crosses the river that feeds a good portion of Bermuda Run, including the business park area here today. In conjunction with that, we have two circuits that originate down in the lower Advance area. We have a substation in that area, and we have two circuits that come up 801 and feed into this area as well. One of those circuits, we have what we call tie to the circuit that comes across from Forsyth County, and it builds in some redundancy. So if we have an issue with the circuit from Forsyth County, or vice versa with the Davie County circuit, we can switch those circuits and backfeed to some areas to help eliminate a larger number of the outages that customers may see. And so that's some of our self-healing technology that I'll kind of touch on a little bit later. But as you can see, a good portion of the area is served from the circuitry that comes across from Forsyth County. The remainder of the areas is served from our circuits that originate from Advance, the 801 areas. Okay. Are there any questions, before I proceed, are there any questions about how your areas are served? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the outages, and I know this is a topic that comes up from time to time. Obviously, you get feedback from your residents in the community when they're impacted by outages, as we do. We went back and took a look at some of the large-scale outages, and these outages are reflective of large numbers of customers that are out. These are not singles or just monetary outages for that matter. And what we found is that the area is fairly reliable over an extended period of time. Right? And so I think what resonates the most is the cadence in which an outage takes place. And in 2024, especially the first part of this year, we had two outages that were back-to-back essentially. And so when you experience an outage and then, short time after that, you experience another outage, it kind of gives a feeling that we're always having outages. And that is something that we're not trying to emphasize here, but if you look at the report and the numbers, the outages that have impacted this area are quite few. And so we contribute that to the facilities that are in place and some of the technologies we employ in this area. You are in an area that's served by a self-healing network or self-healing team, and that's helped reduce a number of outages that could have impacted this area. Are there any questions about the outages that have come up over time? And a lot of those are, many of those are outside of our control. So there's vegetation. We had an incident where a truck clipped some lines and pulled down our facilities. Not only here at Tanglewood, but we also experienced that down 801 with a privately owned truck that had a boom raised that ran into our lines there. So unfortunately, that's outside of our control, but we do respond to those in the same fashion. And so what are some improvements and mitigation efforts we've employed? Back in 2020 and 2021, we did our normal circuit vegetation trimming. In 2021, we had some target trimming that we performed down here at the river. We have an overhead line that parallels the Yadkin River. We had some meetings with the town over some outages during that time frame. We sent our veg management group down. They identified some situations. They had several trees that were infested with ash borer. And so through conjunction with the town and conversation with those property owners, we ended up going down there and doing some selective cutting. And we've reduced the number of outages in that area significantly due to that type of work. In 2022, 2023, we made a couple of self-healing enhancements. We've installed some equipment in the area that's helped improve that. We've also engaged in some additional trimming activities. That's something we continue to do even to this day. We've had a reorganization of our group that serves this area. I work out of the Louisville Operations Center. I'm responsible for Louisville, Elkton, and North Wilkesboro. And out of Louisville, we originally served all the way out to Iredell County. So our crews worked from Winston-Salem all the way out to Statesville. And in 2022, 2023, we kind of reorganized that, and now our area is more or less cuts off at Davie County. And so what that allows us to do is to offer a little bit better response time our crews are more focused on the areas that we are situated in. And I think, that's helped out in many areas overall. In 2024, we continue to review our technologies that we work with every day and apply those to the self-healing technologies that are in place today, including this area. We've done some more trimming. So you've probably seen it along the roads here recently in 801, the southern portion of Advance, all the way up to this area, Baltimore Road areas. We're trimming circuits in those areas as well, and that helps benefit us as well as the customers. And so beyond 2024, we're going to continue to leverage self-healing technologies. That technology changes every day, and so we're at the front of it. And so once it does change, we typically have our hands on it, and we're employing it to the best of our abilities. So improving our grid, or our technologies that we employ, this is kind of an overview of self-healing technologies. We are building a smart thinking grid, and you've probably seen a number of the commercials that advertise this. And it's really the intent of it is to better serve our customers. We want to try to limit the impact that an outage has on a particular community, and we've been able to do that with these self-healing technologies. Some of the benefits: it reduces the number of customers affected by a power outage by up to 75%. It helps us isolate problem areas for quicker response. And so when we cover the self-healing technology visual here in a moment, you'll kind of see how we can isolate and focus on areas that are truly damaged without spending time in other areas that may not be impacted. We can often restore power in less than a minute. Some of you may have experienced blinks, right? Your power's blinked. A lot of times that's self-healing technology that's operating. And so there could have been an outage downstream or in another area, and that blink could have been a switch to another circuit. And at that instance, we've restored power in less than a minute. So we want to improve our grid. And of course, the ability to recover from major storms. This area has been fortunate that we haven't had a major storm come through in some time, but I think everyone has witnessed and experienced the afternoon storms, the weekend storms that have come through recently, and we expect those to increase over a period of time in the future. And we want to help achieve a cleaner, lower carbon future by enabling a sustainable growth of renewable energy and distributed technologies. And so that smart grid is connected to battery storage, it's connected to solar, renewable energies. And so without that connection, without the smart grid technologies, we're not able to work in that environment. And luckily we are now. Okay. And so this is really communication to make you aware that we continue to engage in this activity each day. We have a number of projects going on, not just in this area, but across all of our service areas where we are installing self-healing technology. The equipment that we install is specialized. It takes specialized crews and individuals to operate it. And as you can see with the trucks that are along the roads in the Winston-Salem area and Davie County area and elsewhere, we continue to install that type of equipment on a daily basis. So you'll see more of it. And you may very well see some improvements and some additional equipment installed, just outside the front door here. So. All right. So this is a kind of a visual reference, and I know it's kind of simple in nature, but it really gives a good display of how self-healing technologies work if you can't witness it from the field. So in this photograph here, or this example here, we have a community, and it's fed from the Miller Street substation, for example. And the yellow reference is a circuit from Miller Street substation, while over here to the right we have a green-colored circuit. That's another substation, another circuit. The data center, the school, and the hospital in this example was fed from Miller Street. Go ahead, Andrew. Thank you. In this example, there's been an incident take place, an outage. We've lost power or lost a portion of power on the Miller Street feed. And so now our devices start communicating. And this is an instant communication. This is not something that generally takes place over hours. Our devices are immediately monitoring the system, and so that communication starts taking place immediately. And so through that communication, the system has identified where that outage or the potential where the outage is at, and it's isolated that section. So that's what we have here. We've isolated a section which happened to be outside that data center, and the back feed from the other circuit, the green circuit, is now restoring power to a majority of the customers who had lost power originally in that example. So that's kind of how self-healing technology works. It may not backfeed and restore your power immediately because you may be in that isolated section that's impacted by the outage, a true outage. And at that point, our crews would respond a little bit quicker to that outage and focus on that area as opposed to working elsewhere.
So just a follow-up question on that. So,
Okay.
excuse me. So if, as a resident, if I were to experience that flicker, it's possible that that flicker is because I was in the yellow and now being switched over to another circuit in the green.
Correct.
And so although I may lose all my clock on my stove and my microwave and all those are flashing, it literally has lost it for just a very brief period of time. So that's a way to know potentially that that's what you've experienced, even though you don't really lose the power. A limited area will have lost that power and has to be restored
Correct.
through whatever repair. But I found it when we talked about this the first time very intriguing because I've been at home and I've seen the flicker and I wondered what it was and not realizing that it's very possible that there was some sort of a failover that occurred in that moment. Not thinking whether it was going to be a permanent outage or a longer-term outage, but literally some kind of a switchover around that.
Good point. And we have, it's not just the switching of circuitry or self-healing technologies that have engaged. We have numerous protective devices on our system, and their intent is to protect the system. So if we experience a fault, like maybe a tree falls across some lines, we want to try to limit the damage that has upstream and downstream. And so sometimes those protective devices, they may detect a branch, a small tree limb, and they'll operate. And that's a blink. A lot of times that's a blink. And sometimes they may operate 3 times. So you may see 3 blinks. And it's trying to clear that limb from the line. That's exactly what it's trying to do. And long term, if you're in a self-healing situation, then it would switch over at that point if it cannot clear it. So. Any other questions?
I have one. Can you go back to the circuit slide? The 3 circuits?
The map.
Yeah, the map. Be great. I'm just looking. So Circuit 3 feeds the other side of Kennerton as well, across the highway, the hospital,
Correct.
everything else.
Yes.
So of the 3 circuits, what percentage of the 3 circuits are underground lines and what percentage are above ground lines?
So the majority of, well, Circuit 1 and Circuit 2, the one that feeds kind of the
Basically above
the
ground?
high-density residential areas.
Right.
A lot of that is underground. Those facilities are underground facilities. These that have been identified, these are strictly overhead facilities. These are the main, what I call the main feeder lines. And so off of that branches the underground feeders, underground services, underground facilities that serve your communities, both commercial and residential.
For some of the overhead feeder lines, some of the concerns I've heard over the years, being here for a long-time resident, is the condition of the equipment. Is it good, bad?
It's good. It's in
On the
good shape.
poles, good?
We've done a lot of,
Good?
yeah, we've done a lot of work in this area.
Good.
With that self-healing technology, when it went into place, of course, we had to make some updates to the facilities that were existing. Now, facilities age, and we maintain our facilities, and so we do keep an eye on them. Can we prevent a mechanical failure? Sometimes we can't. Lightning, it may impact some of our equipment. It just may be a situation where the actual piece of equipment fails. But our equipment is in good condition in this area.
Oh, thank you, Rob. That's all I
Thank
got.
you.
As we think about the circuits, I'm not familiar with the circuits 2 and 3. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing relative to the trees and the overhead lines, et cetera, that oftentimes create the problems? I come from another state where there's a copious amounts of work done to do a lot of trim back during the times where you're not at risk, so that when you are at risk, there's less damage. Can you talk about sort of what the basic pattern of work is to continue to maintain areas around those lines?
Sure. So we have normal circuit trimming schedules. Some of those may be 5 to 7 years. It depends. And sometimes we trim sooner than that, depending on the growth of that vegetation. The intent of that trim is to help eliminate the potential of overgrowth and obviously the interference of those conductors that are in the air and that's the main driver of it. And so we're reclaiming our right-of-way in that situation, trying to clear it out of the vegetation. We also very selective, so we may go into an area and trim normal right-of-way, but if we identify a danger tree that's outside the right-of-way, we'll take care of that as well while we're in that area. So, like, for example, we've had one of the impacts to the area in 2024 was due to a tree that was over 60 feet outside of our right-of-way. And so, no, it's challenging to identify every single tree in that situation. But when we're doing these types of trims, these scheduled trims, we're going through looking for those scenarios and eliminate them if we can, if possible. The challenge is cutting trees. You know, we understand that there's some sensitivity to the trimming that we do. And so we try to do that with a careful balance of customer concern, customer need, and then also what we're trying to accomplish with improving the integrity and reliability of our system.
Do you do any kind of notification to property owners in the areas to make them aware that you're coming through so there's no sort of surprises with that?
Yes, we have some automated call systems that go out. We also door hang, and then we have people on the ground that visit and have conversations. Because a lot of times when we hang doors, we'll get feedback. We get concern. More importantly, what are you going to do to our property if your equipment is on it? And so we have those conversations in a one-on-one setting at that moment.
Question. Does Duke ever go have conversations with neighborhoods or HOAs and say, this is not the right kind of tree to be planting here? Because a lot of times the tree itself, well, the Leland cypress that we took down and you run on one road there, they should have never been planted because it caused y'all problems, caused everybody problems. So do y'all ever help educate neighborhoods about what kind of tree makes sense and what kind of tree doesn't?
Well, in the past, you know, a lot of our neighborhoods are underground developments, and so the planting of those types of trees inside the development, not necessarily an issue, but we do have, internally, I have an engineer who handles all subdivision work, and when he's working on projects that have the point of origins are out of the street, he does make reference to plantings and has a conversation with those developers of, you know, maybe this is a better location to locate that product or not plant at all. And so at times we do have those conversations on the front end. Proactively, are we going around holding meetings with HOAs and having conversations? I would probably say not.
Thank you.
I will comment that even though when an outage occurs, it's unfortunate, it's painful, it's frustrating. I don't know any provider that is as on top of things technically in being able to send notifications to devices, have updates on terms of estimated outage time, number of impacted users, et cetera. It's painful when it happens, but it is incredible, I think, how well Duke does in terms of making people aware. I always look at it and think, okay, if there's two of us, the odds are it's going to be a while. If there's 250 of us, odds are that it's going to be dealt with faster. But it does seem like that Duke does a great job in communicating that through devices and making people aware of that, which frankly, you know, at least you have a sense of what the estimated time of restoration is, and you know what to kind of expect. So I appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate that feedback. And I'd like to end my portion by saying that, you know, the individuals that serve this community and other communities, they live in those communities. And so it's an honor for us. Really, I consider it an honor for myself to live in a community that I serve. And so, you know, when there's an outage, when an outage does take place, we focus on that. And so we appreciate the patience, and we certainly appreciate the support, and we appreciate this partnership. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to add that your website is incredibly user-friendly for the lampposts. I was amazed when I went in to report lampposts at how precise it is, and I mean, you see exactly where that lamppost is on that street and that I also got alerts letting me know when you anticipated the repair to that lamppost, or if there was a delay for some reason, it explained the reason. So I appreciate that, because I mean that keeps our neighborhoods safer at night when we have those lights going. So thank you for that too.
We appreciate that feedback. Thank you very
And
much.
I'd like to say, I live in that circuit that's along the riverbank. And so for a long time, we had multiple outages in a year. you all have done a wonderful job in mitigating the problems on that riverbank, because we have had few and far between outages. And we have, all of us that live along that circuit, we really appreciate that, because it was for many years, we had lots of outages, and now few and far between, so bravo.
So we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wanted to just, I know Mayor Brannon brought up about the new bill format, and of course, I appreciate the feedback too, but this is the fun part each month that we look forward to. But there was changes earlier this month, and it's brought up questions, not just from Bermuda Run, but, throughout our jurisdictions. But I think the main thing I would say to council and to citizens of Bermuda Run, the only real change in the total amount due each month would be we had a rate increase earlier this year. So when you look at the line items that we have footnoted out here, there's actually 2 pages. This is page 1 that's given an example of a customer back in February of '24. But at the end of the day, when you look at the new bill, that's the only change, is the increase from earlier this year. 2 things I'll point out on page 1 would be footnotes 3 and 4, where footnote number 3 is the actual billing summary, where you'll see the current month compared to the previous month. And then when you go to footnote number 4, which I think is very important, with the line graph, and below it you can see over a 12-month period the actual usage. And I think a lot of times, we're in June now, which, the air conditioners are, they're working a lot harder than they were, say, a month ago. I think it's important when you do a comparison of bills to look at year over year. To look at June of '23 compared to June of '24 versus looking at the previous month. Let's go on to the next slide, if you would. I think this is where you're seeing the majority of why the bill looks different now. You'll notice there under footnote number 9, there's 5 different components there under that one. And the first one, there's the basic customer charge. It's showing the $14. That's a charge that a customer is going to receive if you use no power during the month. It's the read the meter, just other charges during the month. But it is a standard charge that's, each month it's going to be there. The energy charge, to me, a lot of that would be going back, as I said, to year over year. But it will show you the actual amount of electricity consumed during that period of time. And of course, Duke Energy bills by kilowatt hours. 1,000 kilowatt hours. And like I said, you've got the 12-month average. That third item under footnote 9, the storm recovery cost, that is where Duke puts that itemized charge on there, where if a major storm comes through, you're able to spread out that cost over a longer period of time. So the storm-related charge would be our response to major storms over time instead of all at once.
Let me maybe stop you there real quick.
Uh-huh.
So does that, if I lived in Raleigh, would that be the same number, or does it vary depending on where there's been a storm? Help us understand how that's figured out in terms of zoning.
If you look at North Carolina, there's Duke Energy Carolinas, which Bermuda Run is in. It's pretty much if you go from the Durham area west, and then if you go east of Durham, the Raleigh, over towards I-95, that would be Duke Energy Progress. But this would be for the Duke Energy Carolinas, which Bermuda Run, Davie County's in.
So it's it's the broader footprint, not something specific to our
It's not
particular area.
specific to the town of Bermuda Run, correct.
Thank you.
So who regulates the storm cost?
That would be through the North Carolina Utilities
Are they
Commission.
the same ones that regulate the rate increases as well?
That is correct. Pretty much when you go through all of footnote 9, as well as we're a monopoly, is regulated by the North Carolina Utilities Commission. Moving on down under footnote 9, the riders. The summary rider I'll mention first, but that is a new item on the bill. I mean, it was not there prior to 2024. But it can best be described where it's, fuel cost. Maybe natural gas to use for generation, the fuel cost for natural gas is higher, it's lower. Also under the summary, it would be maybe there's some tax credits. So it could be a credit or a deficit. But that is a new item on the bill to where we itemize out the summary rider. And then, of course, you've got the renewable energy rider, which tracks and accounts for renewable energy certificates. Again, the goal of Duke when we rolled this out earlier this year would be to make it more transparent, the 8% increase, but at the end of the day, that's pretty much the new portions of the electric bill.
So the rider is not, it's a new line item, but not a new cost.
That is correct.
Okay, so.
It was built in prior to 24 in the total bill.
So as someone's trying to understand and consume this, you have a rate change that occurred, and then you have I'll call it a kind of a distilling, not a distilling, the reverse of distilling, a separation out
Correct.
of what was bundled before as some lump sum cost is now being sort of detailed out.
That is
Those
correct.
detailed costs were already in that original number, they're just being sort of detailed out now.
I think you summarized it right, Mayor. It's more bundled now, and remember the 8%, approximate 8% increase back in January.
Any more questions?
Was that a request of the public utilities or an offer from Duke Power to debundle?
It was Duke Energy wanting to make the bill more transparent from a customer perspective.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure, a lot of residents right here in Bermuda Run, probably some of you, like some of the energy efficiency, the Power Manager program where you may get a credit on your air conditioner during the summer months. So, I mean, it was through the commission.
Good.
Any questions? Great, thank you so much.
Well,
Very
thanks
much
for the
appreciate it.
partnership with Duke Energy.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, our second presentation, Mr. Adam Howard from Smith Grove Fire and Rescue. Again, same routine. I'll ask Adam to present to the council, and again, any questions that the audience has, certainly reach out to town staff, and we'll certainly do our best to get those responded back. But thank you again for coming tonight.
Thank you all. Thank you for allowing us to come, give you a quick snippet of the fire department. Go ahead. So we're like anybody else. We create a vision or mission statement. We went with a mission statement to establish and maintain, operate, and carry on fire and rescue department and fire protection and emergency medical services within the Smith Grove community, which now, for a lot of people and y'all, stands from the Yadkin River to Farmington Road. We cover about, you'll see a little more, it's just a second, about 23, I said 25 square miles there, but it's 23. I got a definite number today. Within Davie County and North Carolina to be organized and operate exclusively for the prevention of fires and protection of life and property from loss of emergency medical services. We were originally established July 3rd, 1974. Building was completed by members in the community in 1975, and recently we had our 50-year anniversary, as most of y'all seen on the old social media. Learned a lot. I didn't realize a lot of our neighboring departments actually come help build our fire station that we currently sit in. That was kind of cool to learn. That's not out there unless you talk to the older folks. The initial training was 40 hours class held in the fall of 1974 at Glenn Howard's garage. Glenn Howard was a very known county commissioner for how many years? 40 years. He actually, the ones y'all remember, it was EMS office on Yadkin Valley Road. He was one of the biggest pushers for that. And if you remember the building, there was 3 bays. The 3rd bay was supposed to be for a fire truck, one for a rescue squad truck, and one for an ambulance. And that never happened because he passed away prior to that. We were one of the first departments to establish a junior firefighter program in the state. The current department, we have 29 certified firefighters. Real quick on that, in order to get your certification, it's about 400 hours now versus 240 about 20 years ago. 25 certified EMTs, which is if you call 911 having chest pains, you're going to see a big red fire truck come to you and aid care before the ambulance. That's about 200 hours now versus 160 about 15 years ago. We've got 34 members, 4 junior firefighters, 6 pieces of apparatus, and like I said, we cover, or I thought when I'd done this about 25, it's actually 23.3. We do require 72 hours training per year. We meet every Tuesday night, and you're like, that's a lot more than 72. We're like anybody else. Since COVID, we all struggled to get people to come see us. 24 calls per year, and I'll get a little more into calls here in just a second. Some of our long-range goals, full-time staffing. We're currently staffed 24/7 with 2 people, typically day and night. Effective July 1, we'll have 1 opening currently, but we'll be with 1 full-timer each day for 24 hours, back staffing with part-timers. A second station, which is needed in this area, replace equipment, figure out a way to compensate volunteers, get more people to come. Fundraisers for fun, not for money, such as the gun raffle we just done, was to pay for all the stuff for the 50-year anniversary and y'all's nice gifts y'all have in the mayor's office. Looks like Christmas in there. Auxiliary power would be upgrading the generator and stuff like that. Some more training facility classroom. This kind of plays in with ISO. In order to maximize our credit, each member should have 240 hours of training each year. 18 of those hours are required to be at a training facility. David County has one, which is located in Moxville. It's hard to get people to go there for 18 hours throughout a year. And that plays a big role in ISO with, if they're on a house fire or a building fire, we got to make sure they're maxing out in their brackets to get the full credit for them. Redo our current station or build a new headquarters, which during mid-COVID, we acquired the additional 11 acres around our fire station where the community center sits. It pretty much had went downhill. Through some legality, they were able to form an original committee to get it all deeded over to us. A ladder truck, I don't have a picture of this later, but I'll tell you a ladder truck's running about $2 million right now. So that is definitely a 30-year plan, unless somebody decides to give us $2 million in a fire station. Purchase new hydrants, that comes in to help lower insurance rating and put hydrants where hydrants are not at now. You get away from the town here and our hydrants decrease as far as how they are. Expanded junior firefighter program, the biggest thing with that is trying to get the youngers involved and keep them involved. Obviously we know texting is a way of future, but trying to get them to quit texting and playing video games is hard to do. I got 16-year-old twin boys, they're in the video games, but they are involved in the fire department. Expand our EMS capabilities. A lot of that deals with getting a Lucas machine for chest compressions, getting one on each piece of equipment, or each piece of apparatus, just for example. Our call volume, so increased number of calls due to growth in housing developments and retail establishments. So I thought the chart would show a little better. So the last 6 years, just in 2019, we were at 913 calls. In 2020, we dropped down to 757, which that's obviously COVID year. They took a lot of responses from us, trying to prevent us from getting it. We jumped back up in 21 to 940, and just last year alone, we run 1,198. And I pulled a number a while ago, and we've run 572 calls this year. That's averaging, we average 3 to 6 a day without actually doing calculations. That's about what it is. So this is where your ISO comes from. Your insurance rating help you save on that. It's a private company that provides information to the insurance industry. They review the suppression capabilities of the fire department and assign a protective class rating to them. The community rating applies to all property with a fire flow demands of less than 3,500 GPMs or with a sprinkler system. So this breaks it down. So 50% of our grade that helps insurance to keep it low, your premiums low, we have no control over, such as water supply. That comes from the county and the water department. Communications, which is our 911 center, the number of phone lines, the quality of service, meaning how quick they answer it, and then the method of notifications, how it gets out. The fire department staffing plays a big role. Apparatus such as everybody sees a fire station with 6 trucks. Well, a lot of times that 6 trucks means a lot to your insurance rate, and people don't understand that in training. We're currently in 2021 got reclassified to a 4E, which the E part's expended, which means it goes from a 5-mile district to a 6-mile. And we're due again in probably about another 2 years. Insurance premiums are based on that rating within 1,000 foot of fire hydrants, and anything outside that's typically a class 9. If you get over 6 miles, it goes to a class 10, which pretty much means they can't insure it. You'll get insurance, but you're ready to be sky high. So this little gem here is our newest truck. I want to put these tidbit information here to show you how things have changed. So this truck was going to be here tonight for a picture. After we talked and at the station during, I think, the 50th year anniversary visit, I didn't want to take away from y'all's public hearing for your budget. That's a little more important. But this is our newest truck. It's a 2023 E1 Cyclone. It's got 1,030 gallons of water, 2,000 GPM pump. And it took us 2 years to get it, and it cost us at $734,000, and that's with no equipment. This one right here, we bought these two. We bought this one and one prior. We bought brand new. It was a 2007 Suffolk Shields S2, less water. It was a mine thing during that time frame. It just, everything's going back bigger now. With 1,500 gallon pump, and you can see 15 years ago, that truck was $332,000. So this truck we bought used, 1996. It's got 2,500 gallons of water and a 1250 pump. We bought for $17,000. I could turn around and sold it for $60,000, but I didn't because we needed it for ISO. That's how we lowered their last rating. This one right here, we kind of outgrew our capabilities. We had a 96 Chevrolet truck at the time that we were doing a lot of this with, and that Suffolk truck, and we said we got to expand. So I bought this truck from up north for $25,000 in 2015. We had this is our brush truck, so if you have wildfire, things like that, that's what this would come for. 200 gallons of water purchased for $17,000 used in 2007. A lot of times you don't want brand new $100,000 trucks, you're going to go through the woods with them. This one right here we bought brand new to replace a Yukon, which I didn't put a picture of on here because it's in bad shape. We bought to run our medical calls, command vehicle. It's his, back there, the fire chief's ride-around vehicle. But we got this right here from Ashley Furniture. They donated it to us. It's got 70 gallons of water. We paid between a trailer and that UTV, and the pump on the back was $30,000. They provided for us. So I put these two pictures up here to show you, and I know the mayor saw the apparatus cost. So I put our price of our fire apparatus on there for a reason. So in 2020, they paid $488,000 for that truck. Ordered a new one 4 years later at $797,000. In 4 years, that's how much our business has went up. So we go over here to the cost to an outfit of firemen. Our helmet is still about $350. Our hoods are still about $100. Mask are still, which is a face piece, is still about $300. SCBA, which is what we wear on our back, is off by about $3,000. They're about 10 grand a piece. That's for the mask, the frame, and 2 bottles. Coat, about $1,300. Our radios, that's off by about $4,000. They're about $4,500 to $6,000 a piece. Pagers are $350. Our gloves are $100, and our pants are $1,000. Boots are $350. So it's about the outfit of firemen. And obviously the air pack part, the SCBA, we leave on fire trucks. So we're not buying every fireman air pack to ride in their vehicle. The outfit of firemen, you're looking at about $20,000 now, if you include the air pack. Minus that, by the time you buy the gear and all, you're about, say, 10 to 15, depending on what you buy.
Well, and the point that you made to me, or maybe it was Don made to me, was that a lot of this outfit has a limited time before you have to then replace it. Otherwise, it affects your insurance rating as well.
So our turnout gear is what we call it: the pants and coat, helmet, everything but the air pack has a 10-year lifespan on it. It don't matter. Like, we bought him a brand new set of gear in 2013. Never saw the first fire. I essentially got to discard it. I got gear that won't make it but 5 years because that's how much it gets used. So every 5 years, I'm having to buy now about a $3,500 set of gear. The air packs, they're actually, if you go by what we call NFPA standard, National Fire Protection Association writes all these nice fancy rules and laws for us. They're supposed to be replaced every revision, which is every 5 years. Who has, just use our case, quick number, who's got $160,000 just laying around every 5 years to put on something that may never see fire? That rescue truck y'all saw in there, it's got air packs on it from 2013, look brand new. Just because it ain't been no fire. So it's hard to, but yeah, most everything has a lifespan on it. We would like to invite y'all to come out by the fire department and see the equipment station, and obviously thank you for your time. I'll answer any questions, and I'll be here after.
Question?
I know I done it really quick, and
No, thank you. Awesome.
Good job.
Very informative.
you're welcome.
I'll also make a pitch like I did a few months ago as a reminder to everyone, if you don't have those reflective outdoor signs, $15, you can stop by, you can call ahead, order them. Please, 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 I have a close neighbor that wound up being a little bit delayed because they weren't able to locate their house. They located mine, then they were able to kind of deduce which one it was, but these attractive, small, little yard signs they're wonderful and they're beautiful in the daylight, but if it's 2 in the morning and you have chest pains, you want at that moment, whatever is the fastest way for them to locate your house. So again, $15, reach out, whether it's Advance, whether it's Smith Grove, please, it's a small investment wherever you live to please do that. I will continue to encourage folks to do that, and also thank you and Don and the team for all that you do for this community and beyond.
You're welcome. And I think he told y'all have gifts in his office. I can't remember if I told you or not.
Thank you again for that as well. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 9, proposed action item, public hearing, FY 24-25 recommended budget. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Tonight, I present to you a budget for the 24-25 fiscal year. I'm happy to and pleased that our 3 funds, which are our general fund, our gate fund, and our utilities fund, each are balanced. The general fund balanced at $2,643,500. Our gate operation fund is balanced at $700,099, and our utility fund is balanced at $791,700. I want to personally thank each of you for the work and the effort and the listening and the reasoning that it takes to put this kind of budget together. We have challenges, and each year we identify and speak to these challenges. I have tried to give you the things that you have asked for. However, in some cases, we just can't do it. You hear this is a tough budget year. This was a tough budget year. But I think that I appreciate the work and the support that you have done. But, as we have identified, our costs continue to increase. Just evident, we had our street paving bid opening last week. The bids came in 68% higher than our engineers' estimated amount. That's an ouch. But with that, we're in sound physical condition, and with your leadership, we will be able to continue that. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you and answer any question that any council member may have of me.
So before I open it up for the public hearing, let me ask if any questions for Mr. Meadwell.
No, and sorry.
No, go ahead.
I want to take the time again to thank Mr. Meadwell and Dora for taking extra time out of their daily schedules to meet with us and help answer the questions that we had, seek clarification, and just help us have a better understanding of the budgets and some of these line items. So again, thank you for that and all your extra time and attention on it.
Okay, with that, I will now open the public hearing for this item. Do we have anyone signed up for the public hearing? No one signed up, okay. Well, then, I will now close the public hearing for this item and return back to the council for any other comments or a motion.
Motion to approve the budget as is.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Tedder, second by Mr. Ernst. By show of hands, those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, council. Moving on to item number 10, Town Manager Report and Comments.
Just a few things, Mr. Mayor. We have had a continual conversation with the Department of Transportation in regards to the maintenance of our existing interchange in those areas along the on-ramps, off-ramps there at Highway 801. There's some confusion about whose responsibility it is while that area is under construction. When the lanes were expanded and the interchange which was rebuilt all the way through to where we're at now with the landscaping that's been installed, that is the responsibility of the NCDOT and the contractor whom NCDOT has hired. We previously were the responsible party for that, but while construction is going on, they are the responsible party. So I have confirmed that with the right-of-way department with DOT and their landscape department. And if you notice, we've received several calls about some of the grass in those areas right there. It's gotten a little high. So, but the contractor knows he is responsible for doing that. So I just want to let you know that in case you get called, that NCDOT is taking care of that. Secondly, we just got word today that the CPF HUD grant that we applied for in December of 2022, that I signed the execution of that agreement in June of 2023, has been signed by HUD, and we got that today. So that was a long time ago. So, but, I appreciate the work that the staff at the Piedmont Triad Regional Council, whom we've hired to administer that grant for us. They have been very diligent in working with staff here at Town Hall, as well as the HUD office in D.C. So we were getting a little frustrated, to say the least. So, but very excited about that, and very excited about things that are on the horizon for the town of Bermuda Run. So, with that, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so I'll just comment that I reminded Andrew, and he reminds me, we sort of do go through a little bit of a coaching session back and forth. Ultimately, this HUD grant is $3.65 million, and its intent is to make improvements both at the NC Fusion area, road improvements on Twins Way, parking improvements. So a lot of this grant is to improve a lot of some of the infrastructure areas around NC Fusion, Tourist Sports Park, et cetera. Plus, the town has several opportunities there as well, from parking, from a trailhead standpoint, opportunities, improving the playground that's down there that we ultimately envision would be able to be utilized by residents, children, et cetera. So while none of us are happy knowing 18 months after we've, the council on this dais approved that we're still waiting for those funds, it just takes time, and we keep coaching ourselves up and reminding ourselves that the check will arrive eventually. But meanwhile, we'll continue to be persistent, and I agree with Andrew. PTRC has been advocating for us. Senator Tillis' office has been advocating for us as well. So we're doing all we can do to keep it moving, but I think, Andrew, there was something like several thousand, I think, applications stacked up
Yep.
that were being processed by a very limited number of people. So we know we're in the stack. We now have a signed document after only a year. So it continues to move. We're optimistic, we're hopeful, but my goodness, it certainly is, it's a long journey. I'll just put it that way. So thank you again. Thank you again to Duke Energy. Appreciate the partnership and the teamwork and all that you're doing. Thank you to Smith Grove Fire and Rescue. Appreciate all that you do. I'll never get tired of thanking you. And by the way, he's hiding back there, but shout out to Officer Foster for all that you do as well. Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. Appreciate the attendance. Always appreciate that. I'll echo what Councilmember Zeliga said. Thank you to Dora. Thank you to Andrew. I don't know that many people understand the amount of time and effort it takes to develop an annual budget for even a town of our size. An awful lot of these line items, whether you are half our size or twice our size, a lot of the same line items, a lot of the same diligence in working through those dollars, and then working with council and myself in coaching and mentoring and explaining and answering questions. That takes an awful lot of work to get us to tonight. So I appreciate that, and that does not go unnoticed. That's a big part of these last couple of months' work, and it shows up one night in a public hearing, and it seems like it was easy peasy, but it's anything but that. So again, thank you for that. Thank you again to council for taking the time to invest time and energy in asking questions and understanding this. This is one of the most important parts of leadership of this town, is understanding and helping guide and lead as it relates to our finances and where we invest and choose to grow. So I appreciate the time and energy all of you have put in. I mentioned this in my June message, but I'll say it here again. Great news, we have been approved by the NCDOT, Winston-Salem Metropolitan Planning Organization, that we're a part of. We have been granted 2 additional pedestrian pathway projects. So those of you who are fans of and familiar with the Blue Heron Trail, if you're walking from here and you go down the trail and you make the 90-degree turn and you're walking towards Kinderton, we have now been given a grant that will allow that pedestrian trail to now continue from that corner right at Steelman Hardware all the way down to NC 801. We also have a second grant that will allow a pedestrian pathway to connect from 158 on the west side of 801 all the way up to Davie Medical Center. So I am super excited that we continue the vision of those, many of whom were not, none of us were on the council at the time, who had that vision and had that thought, and all of you who continue to echo in the comprehensive plan and your feedback that you wanted to have connected communities. I'm here to tell you that that's happening, and I appreciate the partnership and energy of the DOT and the Winston-Salem MPO, and I hope to have even more good news to present in a few months. We'll see how things turn out, but we continue to have a great partnership with that organization. Pat Ivy, Division 9 Chief Engineer, will be here in August. And who knows, maybe we'll have an opportunity to quiz him on the status of more to come on some of these projects. But thank you all for continue to remind us that you want to keep our communities connected, and this is how that happens. I also want to thank Scott Wollaston, pardon me, and the NC Fusion team. Truist Sports Park has been named among the top 10 soccer and lacrosse facilities in the United States. Let me say that again. Top 10 soccer and lacrosse facilities in the United States, number 7 to be exact. That is a huge, huge accolade to be given to that team and that organization. And we bear the fruits of that as well. That's a great opportunity. On a Saturday afternoon, it's amazing when you drive over that bridge and see what appears to be thousands of people out there playing, and what a great opportunity and great privilege to have that as part of our community. And lastly, this coming Saturday, our second concert, rumor has it might be warm, dress appropriately. The Entertainers at 7 p.m. Hope to see all you on our town green. It's great to see a full town green and lots of folks out there laughing and dancing and all kinds of fun stuff. So I encourage you to come and join us on Saturday at 7 p.m. With that, I'll turn it over to council for any closing comments.
I just want to thank everybody for being here this evening and to give a nod to Cindy for her 14th anniversary with the town. So we appreciate that longevity and the energy and the efforts that you bring to the table too. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved and second and third.
And raise of hands. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.